Hello everyone, today's poem is Bei Wind by 佚名, a Bei Wind poem from the Book of Songs. The title 泉水 doesn't mean the water from the spring. So in the classic Chinese literature, every word has its meanings. So the two character words actually has two aspects. The first aspect is 泉. 泉 is the source, the water source, or the springs in the mountains. That's exactly the same meaning as today. 水 means river. So let's see Yellow River. Today we call it 黄河. In the classic Chinese literature, it calls 河水. 河 is a name for that river. 水 means river. So the Yangtze River, in today's Chinese, it means 长江. But in the classic Chinese literature, it means 江水. So Jiang is the name for Yangtze River, just like Yangtze. And the 水, the second word 水, means the river. So in this poem, 泉水 actually means a small river originate from a spring somewhere. This poem is treated as one of the very original poem about homesick, about homeward bound. And in the later generations, homeward bound, homesick poetry became one of the major categories poetry in the Chinese poetry, in the Tang poetry. This poem established two traditions in the Chinese literature. First, the river is simulated as feeling of a person in two ways. It's always changing, like the water flows, and it's endlessly. The river flows, rushes endlessly. So you can see so many poems use river to simulate the feelings, all kinds of feelings. Second, by describing the scenario, the situation, to see someone off, to drink and dine together when they departing at somewhere along the river, under the trees. And this very typical situation became the source of so many famous poetry by Wang Wei, by Liu Yong, and even the very latest pop songs, 送别. This poem became more complicated with still 4 paragraphs, but with 3 pair of sentences in each paragraph. It was very well structured. The first paragraph and the last paragraph is the reality, the real situation, and the second and the third paragraph in the middle actually is the memory of the past. And let's see the poem now. 毖彼泉水，以流于淇. The first 毖 means the water rushes lively. 彼 that, 泉水 the spring river. So the 毖彼泉水 means look at those spring river runs lively, flows lively, and finally it goes to the Qi River. Liu goes to, floating to. Qi is a river, the main river for the Wei state, for the Bei state. It's just like the Nile River for the Egyptians. It's quite famous and very prominent river. So when the Wei people think about river, the Qi is the river they will think about. 有怀于卫，靡日不思. So the poet goes to the topic directly. I am thinking about my hometown, Wei State, and not a single day I'm not thinking about it. The poem was categorized into the Bei Wind. Anyhow, the poet was saying she was thinking about Wei State. Why is that? Basically, the three wind, Bei Wind, Yong Wind, and Wei Wind, they actually are the Wei Wind fundamentally. They are within the same state, but why they are divided in three wind? Because very originally the Wei state has three parts, and each of them have their tongue. So, which means the Bei tongue, the Yong tongue, and Wei tongue, and of course, the three tongues is where the three laws stay there, and of course they have the country land surround their towns became a state, but not for long. The three state was combined into one state, but the three towns was still there. So finally, they are categorized into three winds in the Book of Songs. And another very possibility is Wei state lasts for almost 900 years, much even longer than the Zhou dynasty. They moved their capital 4 times, and very possibly the three winds resembles the different towns the Wei capital relocated in different times. So that's a very big possibility. So anyhow, they always, no matter in Bei Wind, Yong Wind, and Wei Wind, they always call themselves Wei people. That's the you should know. 鸾彼诸姬，聊与之谋. Luan, very beautiful, adorable women. So, with all those beautiful women, I would like to talk to them and make some plan with them. As far as we finished the whole poem, we know this poem is about a married noble woman. She was thinking about her hometown, the Wei state. And 鸾彼诸姬，聊与之谋 is quite simple, because in the Zhou dynasty, when a noble woman was married to far away state, the marriage is between state and state, to another state. Not only this woman herself, she also would be accompanied by several other women with the same family name with her. Maybe not from the same fathers, let's say from her uncle's family, from her elder uncle's family, but they all with the same family names, and all these women will be married to another state. That's the marriage in the Zhou dynasty. Not just one woman's marriage, many women marriage from the same big family. So this sentence means she was talking to her sisters who married to this family with her. They share the same family name. They share the same homesick. So they all feel so homesick, and they talk to each other, and they want to do something. 谋 means plan something. The way they want to do something to help out their homesick. So this is the basic idea of the first paragraph. Straightforward and gave us the basic situation. 出宿于泲，饮饯于祢, the second paragraph. So the second and third paragraph actually is the memory of the past, the things, the situations she was sent to her husband's state, her husband's home. It's a very, very long way. Let's see. 出宿于泲，饮饯于祢. So 沲 is a river. This river doesn't exist today, but it used to be the most 4 big rivers in the China. And now the riverbed, the Ji riverbed, was by Yellow River. So you know the downstream of Yellow River actually in the Zhou dynasty is Ji River. So you can check the map to see where he was about. 出宿于泲. 出 means he was married out, so she was getting out of her family. The character 出, first thing first, tell us very clearly it's the way out of the girl's family to her husband's family. And the second things, because we read the first paragraph, we know when she was writing this poem, she was married, stayed in her husband's home with several other her sisters, with the same name sisters. She was married for a while. So we know very clearly the second paragraph is about something happened in the past. It's the memory of her. So on the way to her husband home, there's many days trip. So one day they stayed at the riverside of Ji. Ji is the 4 big rivers in the ancient China, and it doesn't exist today because the downstream of the Ji River was taken by the Yellow River today. So you can check the Yellow River where it flows around. So that's the Ji River in the Zhou dynasty, and you can see the city's name along the downstream of Yellow River today. The city names, some of the city names has the Ji because the city name was named according the river just beside this city. And we can check the map where the Qi River is, because we know the woman was from Wei State, and the river, the most memorized river was Qi River. So it's in the north. So we know this woman was married from north to the south place. Okay, the first sentence still. 出宿于泲. So one day on the way to her husband's home for the marriage, she stayed at the riverside of Ji River. 饮饯于祢. So Մի was normally was interpreted as a name of the Wei state. So this sentence means on the way to the marriage, one day they stayed at the riverside of Ji River, and they have dining and drinking to see her off at the place of Ní, and this character Ní could also read as me, so I will have another explanation later. And let's check the third paragraph, the first sentence. 出宿于干，饮饯于言. So in the normal sentence, gan was interpreted as a place name, as well as yan, because the sentence pattern 于干于言 means that at the place of gan, at the place of yan. But actually, nobody knows where this place was about in today's map. The only thing we know is in the second paragraph, the first sentence, 出宿于泲, that means the river, 泲 River, which is the Yellow River today. So my interpretation is 出宿于泲 is a river. 饮饯于祢,祢, if a borrowed words, it means at the riverside. So it means we reached the river, 泲 River, and we have drinking and dinner at the riverside. And this is a very, very typical situation in the later generations poetry, in the Tang poetry, to see someone off at a bridge by the river. So that's very, very typical situations. So for the third paragraph, the first sentence, so they reached a river of Gan, more south, a river at Gan, and they have dinner and have drinkings to see the women, to see the girl off, to see her marriage at the place of Yan, the river bound, the boundaries. So with this interpretation, treat me and yan as the borrowed word, and they both mean the riverside. And finally, the feelings is more reasonable, and it's more poetry-like, and we can see this type of writing or situation happened again in the later generations, in the later poetry. Okay, let's go back to the second paragraph. 女子有行，远父母兄弟. The girl has a long way to go, far away from her father and mother, from her brothers. So this is quite ordinary for today's people, but in the ancient China, it only means this girl was married to other place, and it's far, far away place. In the Chinese history stories, a woman married to a far, far away place was always about a royal princess, a noble woman, and it was always described as a very sad story. And also, the girl has a long way to go. It's always about a marriage. Otherwise, she should stay at home. So far, we know the story much more clearly. A noble woman was married to a far, far away place, and she was with the royal family name, Jizhou. In the dinner, the person who treated me the wines, the dinners, asked me a lot of questions. They asked me about all my aunties, and finally the question reached to my eldest aunties. So that's a very, very polite way to asking from the junior aunties, and then the questions goes to all the greetings goes to the eldest aunties. So one thing you should know, that talkings is only between women, and the person who's treating the married woman, the married girl, is a relative of her. Just think about it. The Wei state has so many counties, and each county has a sublord, a small lord, landlord, and all those landlords, they share the same family names of Jizhou. So they are all relatives. So when this woman has a long way across the land of the Wei state, so there's always her relatives who can treat her. So this poem actually most probably is saying when she was about get out of the state, maybe this is the last time she stayed in the Wei state by the Ji riverside, and her relative here hold a big party to see her off, to get out of the Wei state, and the female relatives asked him a lot of questions, one by one, all the relatives in the capital town of the Wei state, because it's very clearly this married woman was from the capital town of the Wei state. Okay, the third paragraph. So they stayed at another place of Gan, most probably a river, and then at the river bound, another big party and drinking events was held to see the girl off. And 载脂载舝，还车言迈. So this is talking about the cars. And from the cars, we also know this is a marriage of noble people. This woman is a noble woman because the cars for the Zhou people is sort of the private jet planes for today's people. So whenever you saw someone has a car, it's about the most prestigious noble persons. And that's why this woman, when she was on the way for her marriage, her father, her mother would use the car, the most prestigious cars, to send her to her husband's family, and with lot of gifts. And in the third paragraph, 载脂载舝 means the car should be oiled again, and they will fix the cars to be ready to go back. 还车, the car from here will turn back, and it's a long way to go back. Why should those cars turn back rather continue their journey? And most probably this is the boundary of the state of her husband's state, and there should be a lot of the cars sent to the boundaries waiting her by her new husband. 载脂载舝, 载 has no meaning, so the key word is 脂, oiling, and 舝 to fix the axles. So 脂 to oiling the axles is quite reasonable, because in the Zhou dynasty everything was made of wood, even the axles, so it needs oiling a lot when it was traveling. 舝 is a very key component on the axle as well. It was mentioned in the Book of Songs many times. It's just like a nail to fix the cover for the top, outside top of the axles to protect the axles from the heatings or crashing to other stuffs. So here, 载脂载舝 means the re-oiling the axles, and they put on the axles cover and nailed it down, because in normal time when there's no need to travel, the cover and the nail was taken off of the axles. When they are about to go to start their journey, they will put the cover and nail the 匣 on the axles again, and then they start their journey. So 载脂载舝 means they finish all the preparation work to start their journey again, but the journey is way back, and could be the most saddest moment for this Zhou woman, for this married girl. From this point onward, she would finally cut off the link with her own family and became a part of her new family, her husband state's members. So the girl was thinking about, how about rushing back to Wei State, to her hometown? Is there a little bit of harmful things? 船 means rush very swiftly. 至于卫 go back to the Wei State. And 不瑕有害, is there any harmful things? What kind of harmful things? Just think about. It's the political marriage, two-state marriage between. If the marriage was damaged by the girl's runaway, what could be the consequence between these two states? So the question is actually reflected. The woman knows the things, the political things, very, very clearly. But even she knows it so clearly, but at this very moment, when he was about to cut off all the links between her own home to start a new life in a very unfamiliar state, unfamiliar people, he even thought still can help out to think about going back home, no matter how harmful to herself, to the two state. Okay, the fourth paragraph, the girl get back to the reality again. 我思肥泉，兹之永叹. 肥泉 refers to the source of spring, with the same source of spring, but finally it split into several different small rivers. So this 肥泉 actually simulate the women's fate in the ancient China. The girls in the same family, but finally they should marry to different names family, and the girls finally split to different families, married to different families. It's just like the spring goes to with the same source of springs goes to the different destinations. So this is quite different destination or fortunes for between men and women. the man would, from his born, he stays with the same family, with the same brotherhood. But the girls, when they grown up, they should go to the different families, to the different destinations, and they may never see each other again. And some girls, if they married to a very, very far away place, a state, they even cannot have the chance to see her father and mother, her relative, again. So the women thought about the spring was split into several different rivers, and they can never go back to their source. So she shared the same situation as the springs, 兹之永叹. So at this place, in her new home, in her husband's home, she sighs forever. 思须与漕，我心悠悠. So she think about Xu and Cao. So this was interpreted as two place name of the Wei state, and sadly we have no idea where these two places was about, but most probably I would think these two places was sort of the street, will spots in the town of the Bei state, in her hometown, because Wei state is a rather big country. It has so many places. The most places the woman will think about should be somewhere very familiar to her. So that should be the place within the town of the Bei state. 我心悠悠. So this is a quite normal sentence in the Book of Songs. My feelings is quite slow and long. And in the previous sentence, he said the homesick is forever. And now when she think about her hometown, the very delicate place or things in her hometown, her feeling became very slow and long. 驾言出游，以写我忧. So it was all those homesick forever, very long and very slow. Finally, I decided to go out, drive my cart, go out. 驾, drive the car. 出游, go out, have a tour. 以写我忧, to discharge my worries and my homesick. 写 means the water was released, was discharged. So it's still about water, to simulate the feelings as water. So here he stuck with so many feelings, and which means he stuck with so many waters, and finally he will drive a car to have a side tour and let her feelings, homesick, to be softened a little bit, just like the water was released. So finally, water, feeling, water, from the very beginning to the final. Very beginning, the spring river, that's still water, the flowing river. So this poem established the tradition in Chinese literature to simulate the flowing river as the feelings, any types of feelings. And in this poem, the feeling is homesick, and thinking about her family members, her father and mothers. And secondly, to describe the scenarios, the situations when see someone off to treat her a dinner, to drink with her at the riverside became a very, very typical situation for Chinese, for the friendship, for the feelings, for the loves toward each other. To soften and release the sadness feelings when parting each other. 下马饮君酒. That's by Wang Wei, which is roughly 2,000 years later of this poem. Can you feel the similarity between them? Okay, that's basically for today. And before we go, just one question. So this poem was in Bei Wind, and the poet is a woman from Bei Wind. But finally, she was married to a very, very remote place. After marriage, she was entitled the family name of her husband's family name, just like the majority of countries of today. And of course, she was treated as the family members of her husband's family, rather than her own father and mother's family. But finally, this poem by this woman was categorized as a Bei Wind poem. So how does this poem, by which rule this poem was categorized into the Bei Wind poem? What do you feel about that? Okay, that's for today, and bye-bye.